Welcome back once again, and as we earlier said, we're going to be embarking over the African Tourism Fair, a leading tourism fair that is being held in Sharm el-Sheikh, a very warm, charming spot here in Egypt, very attractive to tourists. Very delighted to be having with us live over the phone Dr. Yehya Abdul. He is an expert and counselor at Ministry of Tourism. Good morning, Dr. Abdul.
Good morning, Ms. Gina. How are you?
How are you doing, sir? So we need to learn about this leading festival or fair, especially that it is being held in Sharm el-Sheikh and the weather is beautiful in the midst of, you know, what's happening worldwide. In Australia there are floods and there are other storms in Western countries and all that, while in Egypt the weather is so beautiful at this time of the year.
Well, alhamdulillah that we're having this fair weather by this time of the year. And, you know, like early this week, we celebrated holding the African travel fair in Sharm el-Sheikh. And it was, you know, like, it was a very successful one. It was over 70 countries participated, and it was over 3,000 participants. So it was a great event to promote travel to Africa and to attract, you know, like, and showcase potential as a major travel destination.
Right, so this is an annual tourism fair, right?
Yes, it is.
So what exactly that signifies or distinguish this year, 2025? What is the theme?
Well, of course, you know, like this year is a good year, inshallah, because shortly we are going to open the Grand Egyptian Museum. And since last year, we added at least like 6,000 rooms to the capacity of Egyptian hotels, you know, like nationwide. And Egyptair, our national carrier, is, you know, like negotiating now to get A350, which is the largest, you know, like Airbus carrier to be among its lead. So we have great facilities and advantages over last year, as well as African countries as well.
What about the agenda of the fair?
Well, this year is the, you know, like sustainability and partnership, because one of the objectives of this, you know, like fair this year is to foster international tourism partnership with major stakeholders. Africa is rich, you know, like with its history, vibrant culture, and strategic positioning. So really, it's and we have to mark now the Middle East, MENA, Middle East, and you know, like North Africa and Africa as well has an annual increase for the past 2 years, 5% annually. So really, this is very healthy for tourism development in our continent, Africa.
As we all know that Africa as a continent, there are some African countries that are really good competitors when it comes to the safari tourism and some other natural places or natural spots that tourists like to visit, like of course Kenya, Nairobi, and Uganda, and Congo, and those are very beautiful countries. But still Egypt hold depth and hold history and hold monuments and hold all you can think of when it comes to charming spots to visit. For example, Sharm el-Sheikh, it doesn't hold history or monuments, but it holds one of the most charming spots for diving, a resort, nice weather, environmental. It's such one of the best and most sophisticated green spots on earth. So how is that particular festival going to promote for places like that in Egypt?
Well, really, you know, like each year, you know, like we're adding, you know, like new assets to our, you know, like development, you know, like aspects in Egypt. For example, for the past 5 years, Alamein, you know, like on Ras Al Hikma, all the North Coast, has been developed, and now it have, you know, like sophisticated hotels, and it has 2 or 3 airports at least, you know, like to attract visitors. Alamein Airport, Marsa Matruh, and Burj Al Arab as well. So Now we like year round, we have attractions to attract visitors, you know, like in the winter, in the spring, in the summer. So that's why we diversify our products and services, which like shows, you know, like the growth we have, inshallah, we reach, you know, like over 70 million visitors this year, inshallah.
Inshallah. So how is also that African tourism fair going to promote for African tourism, for other countries and tourism sectors around Africa and all that? And I think how could it be able to create like relevancy and collaboration between different tourism sectors in Africa?
Of course, you know, like Africa is so rich with its culture, with its unlimited resources. And that's why, you know, like we have seen on East Africa and West Africa as well. You know, like we have seen, you know, like Kenya and Tanzania, you know, like and Mozambique, all these coastal, you know, like countries, and Madagascar, Seychelles, you know, they have developed, you know, like a niche market for seasonal tourism is becoming very attractive and growing, and with the support of the airlines as well. South Africa and West Africa, I mean, like Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire and all these countries, Mauritania, Morocco. So West Africa is developing its tourism as well. And that's why, because of the resources we have, the attraction, and the visitors, you know, like in Europe and America and Asia, they think now of Africa as like amazing, you know, like land that they need to discover and enjoy its attractions and resources. Especially, you mentioned the safari tours and the parks that are unique in the whole world.
You're a counselor to the Ministry of Tourism. From your own point of view, how do you assess some or the most touristic potentials, the most important, the most attractive in the African continent, if you'd like to name countries?
Well, you know, like, I mean, the whole Africa is rich with, you know, like its natural, you know, like habitat, you know, like through like world media and visitors and, you know, like vacationers and adventurers, it has been, you know, like rich with its resources. The River Nile, for example, and the Moon Mountains and Victoria Lakes and all these attractions make it very, you know, like, I mean, like rare for prestigious, you know, like adventures. And again, for the safaris, you know, like in South Africa, they have Qader Park, in Kenya, in Tanzania, in Uganda, and Congo. I mean, most central countries in Africa and all over the continent, there are over 50 countries in Africa, and Egypt is so attached with them by culture, economic, social, educational ties, you know. So that's why, for example, you have the Comesa, you know, like one of the economic ties that links Egypt to Africa. So we have very strong ties to our continent and work tirelessly with them to promote tourism, to promote education, health and industry and trade as well.
Right. We're talking about tourism fair that is inviting more than 70 countries, more than 70 countries from different countries of Africa, representatives for tourism, counselors, agencies, tour operators, and also hospitality brands, and a lot of, you know, experts of tourism are attending this very important event. How is that going to add to the flow of tourism in Africa?
Well, as I already mentioned, you know, like Africa has been witnessing, you know, like from 5 to 7% annual growth, the whole continent and the MENA region as well. This is because governments, you know, like are looking for Africa as like one way to tie to the whole world, and it's an excellent source for economy and development for the countries as well. And Africa is like still considered and looked at as like a virgin continent, you know, like with this attraction. And from time to time, we discover like new habitat, new attractions all over the continent, which is very vibrant and rich with unlimited resources as well. So that's why it's very attractive. And mostly world airlines, this is very important because the airlines, you know, like they link, and they bring like 90% of world travel to Africa. So now they have plans and like making agreements with major destinations that they fly like weekly and daily, and that's why tourism is booming in our African continent.
Right. When we talk about tourism and the quality of tourism or history or anything, you can put Egypt on one scale and the whole world, the tourism of the whole world on the other scale. But then Egypt, in the past 20 years or so, have developed itself into more than history and more than antiquity and heritage and all that. It has developed new types of tourism, like the conference tourism, entertaining tourism, beach tourism, education tourism, you name it. I mean, new developed types of tourism that the world have been seeking. And usually people look for other types of tourism other than heritage. As we all know that you can, if you classify different types of tourists, you can find types of tourists who are looking to those different types of tourism. So how is Egypt going to benefit from, fairs like this?
Well, as you already you mentioned now, like we have the new administrative capital, and it has, very sophisticated facilities and premises. That's why we can hold, competitions, like science, trade, real estate, all types of businesses could be conducted over there. And at the Egyptian resorts as well, in Sharm el-Sheikh, in Al-Ain, Cairo, Alexandria, and Upper Egypt, and Luxor Aswan has been developed as well. So really we are upgrading, our products and services, and that's why we have an annual growth, tourism from 10 to 15%, and we solidify, our quality programs. Look, at the new developments at the Giza Necropolis as well. The whole world anticipates the grand opening of the GEM, Grand Egyptian Museum as well. And I met many interested parties, coming from many countries that would like to develop new hotels, new projects, new facilities, spa hotels, and they mentioned to me that Cairo is becoming, a very attractive spot and destination for local visitors, for regional visitors, and international visitors as well.
Right. So also this fair encourages touristic partnerships between different countries, especially those who could exchange, who have different types of tourists, who could exchange programs, who could exchange plans, who could share some, privileges and all that.
Well, the government, is giving, facilities, tax holidays, offering them, prime locations for development. And we have at least, 50 colleges all over Egypt, all the way from Alexandria to Aswan and Sinai, where they train nearly annually about 60,000 young men and women to be enrolled and work for the new projects and teach them, artificial intelligence, booking systems, marketing, promotion, stimulation. So really, we are providing, all the factors to make the travel industry in Egypt a viable and very successful one.
Right. When we talk also about Africa, we talk about many other potentials. We talk about the people, the different cultures of people, the people themselves, which are an attraction in their own right. I mean, sometimes tourists would like to visit some countries like South Egypt, for example, like Aswan, like, all Nubia in Egypt, like the people in Midtown Cairo and Old Cairo, to sit, to have some, beverages at the cafes, the old cafes in Midtown Cairo. The same thing in some African countries. There are different cultures and different people with different folkloric gowns and dresses and dress codes and all that. How is that also going to be invested? I mean, is that going to be counted while being looking for investing on those cultures in the fair?
Really, this is, like one of the most attractive items that you already mentioned, because, like the visiting the indigenous population, mixing with them, and some people just like spend like a week or 2 weeks, for example, in a farming, on an oasis, like in a mountainous area and farming areas, desert, like a forest, jungles, They like to mix with the local people, like experimenting, like the music, the daily life, the food. That's why food and music and dance and entertainment has become one of the major attractions of visitors. For example, in Morocco, they have Marrakesh, which, like millions of visitors to go to, like to mix with the local people, like the musicians and the charmers and, all type of attractions. Try, like the local sports. For example, they come to Egypt, they like to ride, like camels near the pyramids area. They like to be in a chariots, the buggy chariots as well. So really, travel is not only confined to five-star hotels, like and sophisticated accommodation. Now there are more trends for visitors worldwide. They like to enjoy and mix and, like touch the local culture, food, music, and entertainment.
Right. The new types of tourism, I mean, with the advent of time and with the advent of world crisis, advent of, other happenings in the world like epidemics and viruses and all that, new types of tourism have emerged, like the digital tourism, like other types, electronic tourism, probably we haven't been used to those types of tourism, and wondering if this is going to be of an economic venue for a country, and we proved that this could also be working. Is this fair, discussing those types, new modern types of tourism, and where is Egypt among those types?
Yeah, really, like there were 2,000 exhibitors, like, and some of them were showing state-of-the-art, like modifications and innovations in the world, like of immersive, like experiences and virtual reality programs and all this. I remember throughout the, like the corona epidemic, like a large number of Egyptian guides, like tour guides, they were, like delivering, like presentations on Egyptology and civilization and culture throughout the Zooming, like, and it was very successful. And because there was no visitors, like about 18 months,
right.
But everybody was watching this. They promised to come back and visit the real things in Egypt, the museums, the attractions, the temples, and to see everything that we've been discussing online.
Right. On this note, of course, Dr. Yehya Abdul, you are a counselor to the Ministry of Tourism. I'd like to thank you so much talking to us on The Breakfast Show.
You.
And we're going to go to a short break, and we'll come to continue our show, so stay with us.